The Fantasy Holics Podcast.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him dart back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles. Now he's got an entourage. And he's got a touchdown.
Your source for all things fantasy. So fill up your cup, sit back, and enjoy.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Holics Podcast. And we are starting a very special series here today. We're going to be talking some NBA basketball. I know not much going on in the basketball world right now, but we kind of wanted to get a jump start talking about some of the top prospects in the NBA draft. So essentially what we're going to do in this series, we're going to go through just one prospect for each episode, and then we're going to go through some of their strengths, weaknesses, kind of give you an overview and NBA comparison, as well as maybe a team that they might fit in well with. So my name is Jordan Jaika, aka Dr. Fantasy. I am here with Zach today. And Zach, what's going on?
Not much. I'm excited to get into these, talk about some NBA prospects. I know the draft this year is kind of weak compared to recent years, but there's still a lot of guys to get excited about.
Yeah, no, and I think you're probably going to hear us talk a lot about that as we do more episodes of these. It's a very weak class. I think a lot of guys are entering really prematurely just because the class is so weak, and we'll talk about that. I think Patrick Williams, who is our topic of conversation today, I think he's actually a good example of that. To me, he's a guy that needs a lot of development still. So I'll kind of give you an overview of him right now. So he was the 28th overall prospect coming into college. He's making the jump to the NBA after 1 year with Florida State. He's 6'7", 215, 6'11 wingspan. He was actually 215 entering college. He's added about 10 pounds since during his freshman year, so added a little bit of weight there. Averaged 9.2 points, 4 rebounds, 1 block, and 1 steal. Had a 45, almost 46 percentage from the field. Had almost an 84% free throw percentage. He's actually going to enter the draft as one of the younger players in the draft. He's only 18. He won't even be 19 by the time the draft starts, unless it gets pushed back. I believe his birthday's in August, so he could be just turning 19 as we have the draft, depending on when it is. But to me, he's very raw. He's really going to have to improve his shot selection. But I'll kick it over to you, and if you want to review some of his strengths.
Like you mentioned with his stats, he stuffs the stat sheet. He can do a little bit of everything. I think in the right system, I think he can be a very key offensive contributor. I mean, like you said, he's really raw. I mean, only being 18, so I think he's a versatile defender as well. I think he can do some things, but it's just a matter of developing, because he's, like you said, he's one of the youngest players in the draft.
Yeah, no, and I think overall he's just very young. He's super athletic. He has all the physical gifts that you need to be successful in the NBA. To me, he's probably going to be more of a G League kind of guy. I expect him to go maybe in the 20s to late first round. And to me, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't make it to the NBA year one. I think he needs more development. Some of his weaknesses, being so athletic, he really lacks aggression. And when you're that size, you have that speed, quickness, athleticism. He's a very good cutter. He has everything you need athletically to make it in the NBA, but it's more, is he going to be aggressive? Is he going to have a better shot selection? When you're that athletic, you really have to use it to get to the basket. And that's something the few times that I've seen him, and I watched a few clips on him and a little bit of film. He's so athletic and he's big, and you can tell by the way that he plays, but he's just not aggressive, and he doesn't use that size to his advantage. He's really kind of offensively, he's more of a catch and shooter. So I kind of found an interesting statistic. 80% of his shots were coming from assists year one in Florida State, and that's a really high percentage. So you can tell he's a spot up corner shooter right now in this point in his career. And when you look at him, that's really surprising to me because he's so athletic. When you see a guy like that, he's kind of, I'm not going to say he's like Zion. He's not quite that big, but he's that athletic, and he just doesn't use it as well as other players do.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Um, I was about to mention that point about the percentage of his shots that come off assist. Like at this, you would kind of, it's not a requirement, but you would kind of like a guy like him to be able to find his own shot once in a while. And another thing is he wasn't. I don't have the exact percentage, but he wasn't that great of a free throw shooter
Mhm.
at the college level, and I think that's something that could come into play as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned so an ideal fit that I have for him. I have the Brooklyn Nets. I think he's going to need playmakers around him. He's realistically probably going to slip into that I mentioned already late first round, maybe even early second, depending on how he works out at the combine, if there is a combine. So with Kyrie there, Kevin Durant, you got guys and playmakers that can create their own shots. And really, if you surround them with guys that can shoot from the perimeter, I think that's kind of where Patrick Williams fits in. And one of the things we really haven't talked about too much is he's a really good defender, and you kind of mentioned it briefly, but that's kind of his big strength right now, and that's why I think long term he'll stay in the NBA is because people value defense, and you need to be able to play defense. So the Nets play a zone scheme right now. That fits in perfectly to Patrick Williams' strengths. He's got really great awareness, so I think the Nets would be a solid fit for him. And I know you mentioned a team before we started who I also think is a pretty good fit.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the Atlanta Hawks, simply because eventually you can put him in that pick and pop with Trae Young, and if there's one thing we know about the Atlanta Hawks, that they don't play defense, and to bring in a guy like Patrick Williams, who is impact defender that could pretty much defend all 5 positions, I think that makes him, that can make him a good fit for Atlanta. But like you said, he's probably a guy that's going to start out in the G League, and it's going to take a while to develop. But he's one of those guys, like, he could, whatever team, if they're patient with him, he's gonna develop into a really strong player for whatever team drafts him.
Yep, I agree. Wrapping it up then, lastly, I'll give you guys an NBA comparison. So I kind of mulled over this a little while. We're going to have an article coming out about him that I wrote as well. And I kind of went back and forth. So what I ended on was Jeff Green. And the reason I think Jeff Green's been a really solid, really role player, I'll say. He's never been a star, but he's kind of been that either 5th guy in the lineup or 6th man off the bench. He's a really strong defender, has a nice outside shot, and he's been in the NBA for quite a while now. So I see that kind of role for Patrick Williams. Maybe not the strongest offensive force, but maybe a guy that averages you 8 points a game, kind of like his college stats this year, fills up the stats sheet as you mentioned earlier. 4 rebounds, a block, a steal, plays great defense. So that's kind of the comparison that I have for him. A really long career just as a really nice defender and role player.
Yeah, I'm going to actually completely agree with you. I mean, he's one of the tougher guys to really find an NBA comparison to. But like you said, Jeff Green, he's just been a really solid contributor his whole career. It's kind of like he's gonna give you some 3-point shooting. He's gonna play some defense. So Jeff Green is the perfect NBA comparison to Patrick Williams.
I agree. So I think that's all that we have for Patrick Williams today. So thank you guys for watching. We'll be doing a few of these every week, so make sure you keep up with that. This is once again presented by the Fantasy Holics. If you don't already, make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at FantasyHolics1, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have tons of MLB and NFL content on there, and we're going to be adding some NBA stuff as well. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out our brand new website, thefantasyholics.com. We have 3 to 5 articles coming out each and every day, so lots of content. So we appreciate you guys checking in, and we'll see you next time.